Did you realize that the word Jurassic has ass in it?
Theme song. To tell the truth, we're badly bruised. There is no future, and we both are thinking. So this is my dinosaur life. So this is my dinosaur life.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Our Dads Are Brothers, a TV and movie review podcast. I'm Nathan Tracy, along with my co-host.
And I'm Bat Tracy. In today's episode, we're watching the original Jurassic Park trilogy. It's from the 90s.
Yeah, get our dinosaur on. How you been?
I've been all right.
Good.
Just working and stuff, watching a lot of things.
Working and watching.
You been watching anything recently?
Oh yeah. If any listeners recall, was Lizzie Kaplan's birthday, and that was highlighted. And we discussed that she was on The Pits. So we both watched The Pits, didn't we?
We did. We really did.
Yeah. Let's tell me if there's anything else you've been watching, then we'll talk about The Pits a little bit.
Well, I've been watching the show Corner Gas, but I don't really want to talk about that much because I want you to watch that someday, and hopefully we can do an episode about it.
Oh, okay. Just like a little segment next time?
No, I mean like a full episode one day on
geez.
Corner Gas. Because there's a full TV show, an animated show, and a movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's Canadian, isn't it?
It's from Saskatchewan.
Ooh.
Yes. And it is a
anything
show
else?
that all I'm going to say about it is it's a show that is 5 stars that you would think would have no right being 5 stars.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Is there anything you want to talk about this episode?
Well, I've just been watching stuff for, the podcast, so.
Same.
Yeah.
It was kind of a struggle cramming this into all the watch time into the holiday weekend. I was a little under the weather as well, and these are scary movies for a child. So watching this with my daughter was a no-go. So I had to find time around that.
Well, I think I'm not going to spoil it, but I think the next episode you'll find to be a much easier time watching around your child.
I was thinking that, so.
I was thinking about that earlier today.
Besides that, haven't been watching much else.
All right, well, let's jump in to The Pits.
The Pits.
The Pits.
It's The Pits.
The Pits.
It's The Pits. Right, so overall, how much do you like The Pits?
I actually really enjoyed The Pits. Do you just want to run through the episodes quick, and if you have anything to say about them? Because I read the episodes last time, and I thought
you did. Yeah.
So the first episode, of course, is the one where they get a babysitter for the kids, even though the kids are in the teens.
Well,
and
it's to keep an eye on them because they fight too much.
Yeah. And it turns out that the babysitter turns out to be Bob's girlfriend that he stood up on prom way back in high school and ended up going to the prom with his future wife, who's now his wife in the show. And it's Barbara Jean from the TV show Reba.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Reba.
Yeah, she's playing Smelly Shelly.
Smelly Shelly.
Such a good time.
I thought that was a good episode. I thought it was kind of a weird pilot episode, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, for the type of show it is, they just jump right into it. I think it was a fine pilot episode for the type of show. I mean, it did get canceled, so whatever. But
Yeah, I thought it was fun. The second episode, I think, is either my favorite or my second favorite, but it's the one where the Faith, who's played by Lizzie Kaplan, gets the car, and the car falls in love with her and tries to marry her in Vegas.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this episode. It was kind of like watching Herbie, but evil in a way. It's like Herbie, but date rapey.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could put a favorite. I liked them all for different reasons. All these episodes are full of great jokes.
They are. There's that one joke in the first episode. It's either the first or the second. I think it's actually maybe the second where it opens the episode and he's like, Bills, Bills, Bills.
Yeah, he's looking through the mail and he's like, Bills, Bills, Bills. We keep getting Bills mail.
So clever.
Yes.
Episode 3 was the one where they turned to werewolves. I thought that one was kind of average.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of the 7. The next one was the one where Bob has a dummy from his childhood and the dummy comes to life and it's just a menace.
It's always been alive. It's always been alive.
Yeah. That episode was hit or miss for me also. I did like
Yeah,
it, but it was just kind of a weird premise.
right.
And then the next one, which I think this one might be my favorite of the seven. It's a tie between this or the car one, but I think this one is maybe the better of the two. And it's Miss American Pipe, the one where Faith has a pipe through her head the whole episode.
Oh yeah, it's so funny.
I loved this. Like how all the characters were treating it like it's totally normal, except it's just weird. They're like, oh, she's the weird girl at school. She has a pipe in her head.
And the doc's like, well, it's not hurting anything. Let's just leave it there. It's like, okay.
Yeah, just a that was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. Then the next episode was they get on the prison bus by accident. Bob does, and then he becomes a prisoner, and he gets held hostage when his family shows up to save him by the prison inmates who are trying to escape. This one was pretty good.
Yeah, there was when he goes to court to fight the ticket before he gets on the bus in an accident. He makes a whole diorama and signs and everything talking about Rosa Parks, and his wife earlier says, every time you bring anything up, you bring up Rosa Parks.
There was a part in that where he's talking about Rosa Parks and how she had to give up her seat to fight for what she loved or whatever. And there's a black woman sitting in the front row, and he goes, "Excuse me, ma'am, could you please move to the back row? I need to put up my sign." And the sign says Rosa Parks.
That's so funny.
Then, of course, the last episode is the one where they join a satanic cult, and I thought this was a very fun episode.
Yeah, I like that one too.
It had a lot of actors. Like the couple who ran the cult are two TV actors you see in a lot of sitcoms and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember their names, but I did recognize them.
Well, I don't know their names either, but the woman is in episodes of Malcolm in the Middle and things like that.
That's what I recognize most.
Yeah.
I couldn't put a finger on it, so thank you.
Do you have anything else to say about the pits? The pits? It should have gone longer, I think. It's a good show.
I mean, even if it's somewhat of a fail, like, come on, finish the first season. Like 14 episodes would have gave us something more to watch.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and find this on DVD. Like on a bootleg.
Good luck. Yeah, you might just have to bootleg it yourself. Yeah, I have two more funny things and they tie together. Cool things, I guess. Seth MacFarlane was the consulting producer on the show, actually. And
yes, I did see that in the credits of one episode, and it surprised me. But he also was a voice in one of the episodes.
You steal my notes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said you had no more notes, and then here I'm kind of trying to come in with my notes.
I'm sorry.
Just horse shit all over them.
I'm so sorry.
So there's this scene where they're at the movies, and it's American Pie 7, More of the Same is what it's titled. Seth MacFarlane plays the dad and the kid. All you hear is the voice. He goes in the kitchen, and there's his son. He's like, what are you doing to the turkey? And he goes, giving thanks. And I just thought it was a really funny voice cameo by Seth MacFarlane.
I like Seth MacFarlane. I know I called him out a couple episodes ago, but I like the guy.
He didn't respond, so who cares? Well, that was a fun show. The Pits, not this show. We're not done yet.
I wish we were. Yeah, The Pits was fun.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to do birthdays?
Absolutely. Would you like me to read them?
Sure. Let me set you up, though. Today is July 7th. It's a Thursday, in case you weren't aware. And who do we have?
We got Billy Campbell, who is, I would say, most known for playing the Rocketeer. Eve Hewson, who is Bono's daughter. Hamish Linklater, who is the New Adventures of Old Christine's brother. Jack Whitehall, Jim Gaffigan, Lisa Leslie, who is a basketball player, but I put her in because it is a nod to the basketball movies. She played the preacher's wife in Uncle Drew. Ringo Starr from the Beatles, who was also in all of the Beatles movies. Robert Eggers, the director, and then Shelley Duvall, who's from The Shining.
Nice. Who are we going to highlight today?
I was just going to ask you the same thing. Who would you like to choose?
Let's go with Robert Eggers.
Ooh, good pick. He is a director, and he is 39 today.
Yeah, and he was born in New York, New York.
New York, New York.
City's so nice they named it twice.
It's like pizza. This guy, he's best known for directing the movies The Vavitch, The Lighthouse, and most recently, The Northman.
Never heard of The Vavitch.
It's very good. He directs weird psychological horror movies, but they're so good. I haven't seen The Northman yet, but it recently came to streaming on Peacock, so I think I'm going to watch it. I got to buy it in 4K because I really like that guy's work. Fun fact for you, He signed on to direct a remake of the 1922 silent film Nosferatu, which is a Dracula film, which is scheduled to be his fourth film. He previously directed his high school plays adaptation of the movie Nosferatu.
Too bad it's not coming out this year. It'd be the 100th year gap, but oh well.
Yeah, I know it would have been cool, but yeah, he chose to do the Northman before doing Nosferatu because he said that he was too inexperienced as a director to handle such a film with or such a like high standard of filmmaking as Nosferatu or something.
I respect that.
But yeah, I highly recommend his movies to anyone. They're very, very good,
Very cool.
especially The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse was my favorite movie of 2019.
Nice. And also, Eggers and his wife have been friends since childrenhood.
I've never heard someone say children before. That was pretty good.
I've never said it before.
I liked it. Well, the main topic today, of course, is Jurassic Park, but would you like to throw out our email before that?
Yeah, sure. Our email is ourdadsourbrothers@gmail.com. As always, and always will be. You can hit us up, tell us anything you want, requests, comments, just say hey, any of that. And also, if you're feeling oh so generous and have a little extra change in your pocket every month, you can check out the end of our bio and become a sponsor or something along those lines and give us a little monthly donation. It would help us out a lot.
Cha-ching. All right, thank you for that, Nathan. But now it is time for na 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 Jurassic Park.
First movie of these Jurassic Park movies is called Jurassic Park Movie. Just kidding. It's Jurassic Park from 1993.
And this one was directed by, of course, the late, the great Steven Spielberg. And I don't mean late like he's dead. I mean he was just late to lunch today.
I was gonna say, when did he die?
I'm just having fun. This one was directed on a budget of $63 million and it grossed at $1.046 billion.
Dang. And I have a quick question about box office numbers.
Yes.
Now, is that an all-time, like if it comes back to theaters 20 years later, or is that like a only with X amount of time after its release, or how
No,
does that work?
that's all included. So if it came back to theaters
Okay.
multiple times, it's in there.
Now, would the 3D version count? Because it did come back to the theaters 3D in 2013. Okay.
Yes.
So that helps me wrap my head around that number a little more. I was thinking, no way this made $1 billion in 1993.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this one has a Rotten Tomato score of 92% and an audience score of 91%.
Ah,
I think
You
this
could-
is a wonderful movie.
I agree. And I'll admit, like I said earlier, these movies are pretty scary. I meant for a child, obviously, but they are kind of spooky. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of suspense, a lot of dark scenes. Not, I wouldn't say jump scares, at least to me. Like I didn't jump much, but I can see how some people might.
In the first one especially, it really takes a drastic turn about halfway through where you're like
Did you say a Jurassic turn?
a drastic.
Okay.
But like the first half of the movie is just like filled with so much wonder and like wow and like it's colorful and bright and all this and then like halfway through it just oh my god, this is a horror movie.
Yeah, and then I liked how that one, like when the horror thing started, when the power cut and everything,
Yep.
it was just like a super long, continuous bang, 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 dark, and then until like they got to the house or whatever, not the house, but the room, but it was just like a continuous bad stuff happening. It was cool.
Oh yeah. All right, so Jurassic Park, basically, if you haven't seen it, it's about a group of scientists who get invited to a secret island, which is going to be the site of a new theme park that Dr. Richard Hammond has created. And on this island adventure, you get to see real life dinosaurs that have been brought back to life after millions and millions of years being extinct. And
65 million years.
65 million years. So basically, while the scientists are looking over at the theme park and like they're supposed to sign off on if they think it's like ethical and everything like that, there's a hacker in the midst and things go haywire and the park shuts down and the dinosaurs get loose and cause haywire and eat some people.
I will admit, for this episode, I slacked on the notes. My brain remembers most of these things as of watching these, but yeah, my physical notes are lacking. Right off the bat, it shows them loading in this dinosaur, and they all have their like guns and taser guns and whatnot, and they're all ready, and it's raining, and they're all like super like, oh my god. It opens a little, and a guy dies, and like you said, it's a horror movie. movie. So guess what? That guy was black. Just like every horror movie, the black guy dies first for some reason.
Well, my first note is I always forget that the opening scene of this movie is with Gennaro. And it's where he's, shows up. I mean, it's right after they load or is it before?
What part are you talking about?
The opening scene with Gennaro,
Who's
the
Gennaro?
character, he's the lawyer character. That's before
that's right after, because it shows them load up the dinosaur. Dude dies.
Then,
the lawyer character is going to talk about the dude's died's family.
Yeah. Gotcha. I said it back. So yeah, besides the opening scene with the dinosaur that you mentioned, I always forget that the next scene is with Gennaro, who's the lawyer character. I just, whenever my brain thinks about this movie, I never remember that scene. So my next note though is Alan Grant scaring the kid. Fucking great. Like when the kid comes up to him and he's like, "Oh, raptors aren't that scary," and he's like,
"Yeah,
slice you," and
he's like, "It's just a big turkey," and he's like, "It's not a turkey."
Yeah, and it really freaks that kid out.
Yeah, he's got the velociraptor claw, and he's like, "You can slice here, cut your belly open, all your organs fall out." He's just sitting there like, "Oh my gosh!"
There was a fan theory online about Chris Pratt's character being that kid who grew up, and Chris Pratt and the Jurassic World people shot it down, which I'm really thankful for because I don't like things like that. This is totally off topic, but they retconned that kid in Iron Man 2 that Iron Man saves. That's Peter Parker.
I don't believe it. Yes, right after he scares the kid, helicopter shows up, and they're all like, "Cover up the fossils, blah, 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 blah." And then all of a sudden, Dr. John Hammond is in his trailer.
Oh, and, John? I made a mistake. I said Richard Hammond earlier when I said the character's name.
Oh, because it's played by Richard Attenborough.
Right, Richard Attenborough. Yeah.
That's funny. Anyways, he's kind of like a Colonel Sanders looking guy. Like he's got that white suit on with that hat, and he's got a cane, and he's just a quirky guy.
He looks very much like Colonel Sanders.
Yeah. And Dr. Alan Grant's like not expecting him. He's like, "Why are you in my trailer?" or whatever. So he's pointing at something, and he like grabs his pointer finger and shakes it.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. That is very fun. I will say a quick note, since I've actually read the book multiple times, the character of Hammond in the book is very maniacal and evil, whereas in the movie they chose to make him like a happy-go-lucky guy, and I think it's a very good change from the book to the movie. Like, I think the movie wouldn't have worked so well if that character would have been evil.
I've not read the book, so I did not know that, but I definitely think it was a good character.
Yes.
What's that line he used throughout the whole movie?
It spared no expense. So I have a note about that scene. It's just Alan and Ellie have a very vague relationship. Are they dating? Are they not dating? It's very vague.
I don't get off again.
So I ended up Googling it because in the book, they are not together. They are just like student and assistant. But in the movie, they are dating in the first movie.
Because Ian Malcolm was like, "So was she available?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "How come? Because you're together?" And he kind of says, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah," or like something like that. Like, so he doesn't straight up make it be like, "Well, of course we are, hands off." But he kind of is like, "I don't want you dating her."
Yeah, it's a vague relationship.
Yeah.
My next note is Dodgson. Dodgson is here. Look, everybody, we got Dodgson here. I really like the scene it's the scene that introduces Wayne Knight's character, and of course Dodgson, who I believe Dodgson, the character, was coming back to the newest Jurassic World movie, played by a different actor for reasons we don't have to get into. But Dodgson, I love this character. Just this whole scene where he shows up and he's got the Barbasol can and cryogenics and everything.
Yeah, he's yelling, he's here, he's like, "Don't say my name," and he yelled it louder, like you said. He's like, who's gonna know?
Yeah, he's like, see, nobody cares.
I loved Wayne Knight's character, Dennis Nedry. He was just geeking out about that Barbasol can. Like, he was like a kid on Christmas morning. He was like opening, and he's like, "Ooh," and he sprayed a little to test it because he's like, it works. You can put it through customs, anything. And he puts little on his hand, and he like puts on a piece of pie. I thought it was funny, and it looked like a perfect whipped cream on the pie. I was like, that is amazing.
If this was a different type of movie, someone would have been into that pie.
Oh yeah, the waiter would come by and grab that pie or something.
Yeah. Someone would have taken a big old bite of it and be like, bleh. So my next note. This is jumping a little bit ahead, so if you have another one, you can hop in. But that first dinosaur they see when they show up to the island, absolutely fantastic. It's a Bronchiosaurus. I believe it's a Bronchiosaurus, and just It's just beautiful. Like the CGI looks a little dated in today's standards, but I mean, just the fact that like you get this sense of wonderment and amazement that like these characters see, where you're just like, holy shit. And like the part where Alan Grant grabs Ellie's head to turn it, like
Yeah,
you just really get the sense like, wow, this is
right.
something.
Well, that was one thing I noted is the amount of awe that these actors portray. Like it's great. Like obviously they're looking at nothing or looking at a stand-in. You know, there's not a really dinosaur there,
Exactly, yeah. Unless they built
and
the
they're all
prop.
really right. Like I said, a stand-in. I guess. Like
Yeah.
it's whatever. But they're like, holy shit, a dinosaur. Like they played that role really well.
Yeah, or they're
Because
really just
I
like,
don't know if I
whoa.
could. Like you really have to sell it. Like oh my god, a dinosaur. Like dang. Do you know that BD Wong was in this?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. He was also in Mulan, we talked about a while ago, which is also in SVU. I like BD
I
Wong.
I also like SVU.
Yeah.
It's a hard show to watch though.
No, never. It's hard to sleep afterwards, but it's not hard to watch.
Well, the Hammond, my next note is the Hammond video at the start is really silly. It reminds me of National Geographic for kids. Like it's got that vibe to it where it's almost like
Yeah,
the paperclip on the old
exactly.
Microsoft where
Yeah,
you're just like, hey, you like DNA? What I love about this sequence though is in the book, there is so much DNA talk. Like there's an entire chapter in the book where it's literally just talking about strands of DNA. Like that's the
wow.
whole chapter. And I always skip that chapter when I read it because I'm like, this shit is boring. But the movie does a really good way of condensing that into this fun little animated sequence where it's just like, hey, this is all the stuff you need to know about the DNA in 2 minutes, and then we
Right.
can move on because this stuff sucks.
They went to turn to look at the lab and the bars shut like they're on a roller coaster and then they want to get out to look close and they all like they count to three and push it open. The dude's like, can they do that?
Speaking of them sitting on the ride part, the when they first come up to the window with the lab technicians inside,
Yeah.
Gennaro leans over to Hammond and he means to ask if the people in the window are animatronics, but he goes, "Are these people autoerotica?" I've never noticed that line before, but I really enjoyed that.
Nice.
And then Hammond's like, "What do you mean animatronics? No, 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 those are real people." So they get across the violence of the raptors very, very well. Like when they go to see the raptors in the pit that they keep them in, and they toss the food in or whatever, and they see them running through the grass and like hunting or whatever in packs. Like they really, really get across like, holy shit, these are monsters, but they're smart monsters.
They really push that like they even say at some point in the movie they're like, oh well, watch out for the T-Rex. And it's like I wouldn't be worried about that T-Rex. I'd be worried about those Velociraptors.
Yeah, because this is a thing they talk about later in the movie, but the T-Rex, you just stand still. This line I think is really good where it's Ellie and they're talking about the dinosaurs and they're like, God creates dinosaurs, dinosaurs rule the earth, God kills dinosaurs, God creates man, man kills dinosaurs, or something like your man creates dinosaurs, dinosaurs kill man, and then Ellie goes, woman inherits the earth. Just an incredible line. And
That was
it's
funny. Yeah.
Alan Grant and Jeff Goldblum's character Ian Malcolm. They just both look at her and they're like, "What?" I really like that line. The Triceratops scene, I think, is just a wonderful, wonderful scene. It really amazes you, like just how good these scenes are. Like not just that, hey, this is a weird science fiction movie where we're dealing with dinosaurs, but also like the character moments of these. Like that's what makes this first movie so special is like the characters and how they relate to each other. And you really get the sense with like Ellie's character specifically where she's like, oh, she really cares for these animals and like even though they've been extinct, like this is what her whole life has been about, and now she gets to actually save this animal.
Right.
It's
I
really
did think they
cool.
were going to come to a conclusion though in that scene. Like they're like, "Oh, it's sick like this every 3 months or 6 months, 6 weeks. Oh, it's poop. Oh, there's no that's poisonous things on the poop." I thought she was going to be like, "I think it's this," or "Oh my god, it's pregnant or something," which they can't get pregnant. We can talk about that later.
If I remember correctly, in the first book, that part actually does end with uh because they brought back extinct plants also, one of the plants that the Triceratops kept eating was making them sick.
Well, and that's what they were making it seem.
Yeah.
She near the Triceratops right there. She's like, "Has it been eating this?" It's like, "Well, let's look in the poop," and she stuck her arm elbow deep in that dung. And Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum's character, goes, That's a pile of shit, or something like that.
It's a big pile of shit. Yep.
That's a big pile of shit. Yeah, so right there she looks and she's like, no, there's no evidence of that plant in this. So yeah, I was just thinking they were gonna put a conclusion on it, or at least a idea, but they just left it. She's like, I'm just gonna stay here because the rain started, and Sam Jackson was like, we better get these people back here.
Hmm.
Which he had a cigarette the whole freaking movie.
Yep. Yep. Which you always forget that Arnold is. Sorry, you always forget that that's his character name. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah,
You always forget that Sam Jackson's in this movie. Like it's
I
such a
100%
weird.
forgot.
Yeah, it's a weird that he's in it.
Yeah, it wasn't, but it didn't shock me like, oh my god, he's in it. But it was like oh yeah, I forgot
Yeah,
he was
I
in
know.
this. Yeah,
Well, my next note is there's a scene later on. It's when they first are in the Jeeps. It's right after the Triceratops scene, and Alan Grant is talking to Ian Malcolm, and this is after Ellie had left because she's not a part of the next sequence that we'll get to. But Malcolm says a quote to Grant that I really like. He says, "I'm always on the lookout for a future ex Mrs. Malcolm," because he talks about how he has 5 kids and like 3 ex-wives or something like that,
yeah,
which we get introduced to one of his kids later on, which we'll get to. So the where's the goat scene is absolutely terrifying. So like, it's the kids sitting in the car and they like look over and they're like, where's the goat? And then all of a sudden the T-Rex is there. And just this is when the horror of this movie really just kicks into gear. And like specifically the part where the T-Rex is looking in the car at them. And like that's the first real that I think is the one jump scare in this movie. Like the big jump scare is when they like the kids turn and the eyes just staring at them, like terrifying.
definitely.
I can imagine being a kid and just being terrified of this scene.
Yeah,
But this one didn't scare me when I was a kid watching it. But when we could talk about the second movie, I have something to say about that being scared. But this one
okay.
never did. But I can see why kids would be scared of this one. Terrifying. And like, Ian Malcolm gets attacked by the T-Rex during the chase. Gennaro gets eaten on the toilet, which is amazing. And Ian Malcolm gets just knocked the fuck out. Like T-Rex just swats him into the building. Like,
Yeah,
imagine being Tim or Lexi, the 2 kids, which in the book, Tim is actually older and Lexi is the worst character in the book because all she does is scream and cry. It's awful. But in the movie they reversed it to where Lexi's older and Tim is the younger one, and they just kind of reverse their characters a bit. But I think it works way better for the movie because if she was just like a 6-year-old screaming the whole time, it'd be awful. But yeah, just imagine like just being a 7-year-old kid or however old Tim is or whatever, and just a T-Rex knocks you off a cliff in a car. Like that's crazy,
right. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, and then there's
But
the chase.
he takes like a champ though.
He does. He's a great kid.
Yeah.
And he loves dinosaurs, so it's even cooler, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, then they do the chase sequence on the Jeep, so I know you have a note about that.
There's
And
no
then
chase scene.
well yeah, that's when he's on the back of the Jeep. And the T-Rex is chasing the Jeep.
Oh, I'm just talking about the beginning of that. You can talk about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then there's the funny line where Malcolm just goes, faster, must go faster, as the T-Rex is chasing them.
Shortly after the Jeep falls off the cliff and everything, and the scene wraps up kind of where Alan goes down to save him and everything, and the girl's somewhere, I don't remember. Anyways, Ellie shows up along with one of Hammond's dudes. He's like, go save my grandchildren.
Oh, Muldoon.
They get out there, and they're like, and he's like, wait, is this Gennaro? And Ellie goes, yeah, and here's some of him over here too, just proving that he was like all throughout the place, like the dinosaur scooped him up off the toilet.
And Gennaro deserved it because he's a coward.
Yeah, well,
he's
and
the one just like Grant was literally like, don't move or the T-Rex will attack, and he's the one who ran and then caused the T-Rex to attack the children.
The amount of times throughout this whole trilogy that they say don't scream or don't run or don't do this, exact opposite.
I know.
Oh my god. But yeah, they find
what's the point of hiring a dinosaur expert if you're not going to listen to the expert?
That's exactly a line from the third one.
I know.
Yeah, they find Ian Malcolm laying there unconscious, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, here's Ian." This is the first of many funny lines in a serious situation that I think are just corny. She's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And like, there's a T-Rex nearby, and he goes, "Yeah, remind me to thank John Hammond for this nice weekend." And he just says that, and I was like, "Excuse me."
See, that's the thing I don't like about that's why I like Dr. Grant so much in these movies, and less like Ian Malcolm was always the character that people were like, oh, he's the best character in the movie. And that's the reason he's in the second movie, because he was the most popular character. But I've always liked Dr. Grant more. It's because of quips like that, because like the Ian Malcolm character was all about chaos theory and how he thinks, he's like, oh well, because of chaos theory, doing this or that or whatever, it doesn't matter and
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's just I don't know. It's a
Well,
weird
and later,
character.
yeah, later he's like, I hate always being right, and he's just like, yeah. But at the same time, Grant has a line just like that later, which I'll get to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my next note is Muldoon is such a kick-ass character. Besides Dr. Grant, he's my favorite character from this first movie specifically because obviously because he dies in the movie, but like Alan Grant's my favorite character from the franchise, but Muldoon's my favorite character from the first movie. He is just so cool, and like how he knows so much about the Raptors and how he's like, oh yeah, this one is clever because it plans traps and stuff. And it does, like it traps Muldoon, and he's like his last line, "Clever girl," and then it attacks him.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's also he's also
Yeah.
very courageous because he tells her to make a run for it, pretty much knowing that they're going to kill him because he knows how smart they are.
Well, see, this is the thing though. I don't think he did know they were going to kill him. I think he thought maybe he had a chance because of how well
Maybe.
he knew
Yeah.
them. But at the same time, yes, he did know. Like it's one of those kind of thoughts. Like I think I can do this, but at the same time, I'm going to die.
Like
And
when you try for a jump when you're in your car, knowing there's a small chance I can make this.
yeah, yeah, it's such a good scene. It just like that's what I mean. Like scenes in this movie are just so good. So my next note is the electric fence scene is really funny. Grant loves to terrify some kids. Like, oh
Oh
boy, does
yes.
he just love to scare them.
Oh yeah.
I think if he wasn't a
Yeah.
paleontologist, I think a perfect job for him would be like working at a scary land.
Yeah, that would be. I'm gonna rewind and set that scene up for you, and then you can talk about why he's so funny for that. So it kind of takes place right between the scene of where God, I wish I remembered names better. Kind of right between where Muldoon sacrifices himself and the electric fence scene, where earlier Samuel L. Jackson left to go find the breaker and turn it on, and they're like, "Why is this taking so long? We need to go after." And that's when Ellie and Muldoon goes. And so Ellie makes a run for it and goes, and she's like yelling for Ray Arnold, Sam Jackson. It's like, "Are you there? Are you there?" And all of a sudden, boom! There's just Velociraptors in there too because Muldoon's dead now. And she gets in there, and then all of a sudden, here comes Sam Jackson's hand on her shoulder, and she's like, "Oh, thank goodness you're here." And she turns, and it's just his arm.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my gosh. But a fun fact about that is Sam Jackson was actually going to film a lengthy like Velociraptor chase death scene, but this was filmed in Hawaii, and a hurricane took out the set that they're going to use. So
Oh
they had to
wow,
just like scrap the idea and just be like, well, here's his hand.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I only have one more note for the first movie, and it's that the Raptors are some of the best horror movie villains of all time. Like I think
Yes,
they're on par with
especially
like
in the cafeteria.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think they're on par with like Jason or Michael Myers or Freddy
Do you have
Krueger.
feelings about them?
No, I just think they're very good villains in a movie. Like they're the perfect mix between like smart villain, but then also like terrifying monster. Like it's like taking Michael Myers and mixing with Godzilla, you know?
Right.
It's perfect.
So many times throughout the movie, anytime this is kind of iconic. When T-Rex is coming, there's a glass of water in the car that makes ripples. That's kind of how they know. So they like feel and hear something, and then they see the car like ripple from the vibrations of the T-Rex footsteps. Supposedly that was inspired by Spielberg listening to some Earth, Wind, and Fire in his car, and the vibrations from the rhythm made some water in his car do that. And he started thinking, he's like, huh, footsteps from a T-Rex.
I didn't know that part, but I did know that how they managed to do that was someone sat underneath the dashboard with a guitar and strummed the chords to make it vibrate like that.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And one cool thing about that attack with the Muldoon's character in the parts of parts of the scene in the kitchen, those are actually men in raptor suits.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Can you guess some of the various sounds they use to create the raptor sounds?
Yeah, they used like a lion, a tiger, a bear. They mixed like a
Oh,
bunch of different things.
oh my. They used dolphin screams, walruses bellowing, geese hissing, African cranes mating call, tortoises mating, and human rasps. You know what that all sounds like together? Or something.
These sound
Pretty neat.
engineers, how do they do it? I don't know.
They find some tortoises mating and record it. That's all they do.
All right, let's do our final rating. I give this 5 stars out of 5. I think it's a perfect movie.
I agree. I give it 5 stars.
Wow. What's next?
Yeah, the next one's The Lost World, Jurassic Park. And a fun title, came out in 1997.
Yeah, and again, this one was directed by Steven Spielberg, one of his very few sequels he's ever done in his career. And this one had a somewhat inflated budget of $73 million instead of 63, and it grossed $618.6 million. So much less than the first one, but still pretty decent of a rake in.
Yeah.
And this one has a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 51% audience score. So pretty close again, same as the first one, but right in the middle of the road for how people like this one.
Yeah, they're very similar.
It is also the longest Jurassic Park movie in the original trilogy at 129 minutes.
So about the same, just with a few more credits probably.
Yeah, just 2 minutes a little longer than the first one, but I just want to note it is the longest
I'm
one.
call it the same. Sure.
Right off the bat, the opening scene in this movie is absolutely incredible. It's, you know, the child on the beach with her parents, and she goes off to explore and then meets the tiny little dinosaur, tries to feed it, and then a bunch of them show up and attack her. Like, that is absolutely amazing. And that is actually the opening scene of the first book, is that sequence. And Spielberg wasn't able to include in the first movie, so he brought it back and wanted to use it for the second. And there's a lot of stuff in the second movie that is from the first movie or the first book that they just reuse. The reason that this movie has such a weird title is because the first book is called Jurassic Park, and then Steven Spielberg wanted to make a sequel so bad that he told Michael Crichton, was like, hey, you need to make a sequel for the book. And so Michael Crichton wrote The Lost World, which is the sequel Jurassic Park. So that's why this one has the title The Lost World. And also another big change before we get into this movie is Ian Malcolm actually died in the first book at the end. He dies from his injuries during the T-Rex attack. And so he dies, but Spielberg didn't want him to die. So he's like, hey, you need to bring him back in your second book. And so in the second book, it opens with them being like, yeah, so we all thought Ian Malcolm died, but it just turned out that like he was just like in a coma and we didn't check his heart rate or anything, but he was still alive and he's okay.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Absolutely horrible.
But that's why Ian Malcolm is in this movie.
Well, I do want to touch on that first scene that you said that was awesome, the little girl and stuff.
Yep.
It was a cool scene, but then it just dropped off. They never brought it back up. No one talked about it.
Would you like the explanation of that?
In a second. Because I'm also going to say that the same type of opening scene for the third one, which had a lot to do with that movie. I was a little like intrigued on, why did they just like do this little scene and then like pretend it never happened?
The scene context of why it happens, at least in the book, is so like she gets attacked by a lizard, she says, that walked on its back legs. So anyways, the spit causes her to have an allergic reaction, and then the guy gets attacked by the raptor like in the beginning of the first movie, and he gets brought in and they are able to pair the DNA, and they're like, oh wait, these are like extinct things. And then so they end up sending the lizard sample to Alan Grant, and that's how he gets brought into the story. So it sets up, like, that scene sets up the entire franchise basically, but they just put it in the beginning of the second movie.
So to answer what I'm getting at, you don't have an answer for me.
Oh,
so
like
in the second movie, like there's that scene, and then it's like it doesn't happen. I guess it's probably for the book fans. They're just like, oh shit, it's this scene.
It's literally because Steven Spielberg liked the scene so much from the book and wanted to include it, but he didn't have space for it in the first.
And that, I guess, in context of the second movie, that would be on this new island, right?
Yes. So the first, I will say that the first movie takes place on the island Isla Nublar, and then the second movie and the third one, not to spoil anything, but they both take place on the island Isla Sorna, which is Site B, which is 80 miles away from the first island.
Which is where they created the dinosaurs to ship them to Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So in the opening scene, though, the scene ends with the mom finding her child and screaming, and then there's a fun transition where it zooms in on the mom screaming, and then zooms out and it's Jeff Goldblum yawning while he's
Yeah.
standing in the airport.
Yeah, he's standing in front of like he's standing in front of like a mural of like a nice day. So it looks like he's on vacation, yawning.
Yeah.
And then he
Mhm.
walks away from it and it's like a crappy, rainy, dark air.
I think this movie has a really slowly paced opening sequence. Like, besides the amazing first scene where the child gets attacked, the whole opening of this movie where it's just Ian Malcolm talking to Hammond and like talking about like seminars and how the public didn't believe him and all this, like it's just boring. It's slow and boring.
I was just like, okay.
Yeah, it's just
The
weird
beginning.
setup for the sequel. I don't know. But once they get onto the island, I realized we didn't do a synopsis for this, so I'll do that really fast. Basically, the plot of this one is that Ian Malcolm is getting hired by John Hammond to go to Site B, the Isla Nublar, or sorry, Isla Sorna. He has to get his ex-girlfriend, on and off ex-girlfriend, Sarah Harding, back because she's been studying the dinosaurs, and he wants to save some of the dinosaurs off the island because InGen, the company that he created, is sending in a team to kill the animals. So that is the plot. And so his team is Jeff Goldblum and Sarah Harding, who is played by Julianne Moore, and then he has this camera guy, photographer, who like used to take photos of like during wartime, and his name is Nick. He's played by Vince Vaughn, and then they also have another guy who's not important really because he gets eaten. Oh,
Yeah.
and Jeff Goldblum's daughter is there for some reason. She sneaks onto the island with them, and her character is the worst character in this movie.
I was about to say I hated that character.
Yes.
She was pointless.
Yep.
There's so many, like, she was the whiny one.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's awful. This one thing I will say about the opening of this movie is we get a fun cameo from Tim and Lex. They're just happen to be at Hammond's.
Yep. Yeah. But back to her just being a whiny little girl. There was a scene, and I actually liked this part about it. She's like, "Can you carry me?" or something like that, and he just like didn't.
Yeah,
I was like, nice.
I think the Stegos, when they first get to the island, they meet Sarah Harding. She's with a herd of Stegosauruses. Stegos look dope AF. Look really, really cool. And then to transition back to the daughter, because that's Stegos took place before that. So they find out when they bring Harding and Sarah back to their trailer camp that they set up, they find out that Jeff Goldblum's daughter, she is in the trailer, and she's a stowaway basically. And she came onto the island. So Jeff Goldblum is having a talk with her, and he's like, "Hey, you shouldn't be on this island." And then it cuts to Vince Vaughn's character talking with the other guy, and he looks over at Jeff Goldblum and his daughter, and he goes, "You see any family resemblance over there?" I thought that was a funny line.
To the listeners, they look nothing alike. They're different heritage and everything.
Yeah, different skin color.
Yeah.
And then Malcolm's character in this movie, it seems so much different from the first. Like, it's a radical change from just, if you watch them both back to back, it's just a different character. It's really weird.
Yes. Well, the second one, they tried to make him a little more bad boy. A little thinner, first of all, in his face. And his hair's, he's got a short haircut. The first one, I think, was a little longer, slicked back and glasses.
Yeah, he had a mullet in the first one.
Oh, yes. And this one's short, no glasses. Like, he was trying to be a bad boy. Like,
I think he was more of a bad boy in the first movie. I think he was more serious and like toned down in the second one. But I don't know. Maybe it's because he was being a dad.
I'm talking look-wise. Yeah, maybe.
My next note is the scene where the dino stampedes the camp is really, really awesome. So Ludlow, him and his team have captured a bunch of dinosaurs, and they have them in camp. And Sarah and Jeff Goldblum and Vince Vaughn, they go into the camp and they release the dinosaurs, and they stampede out through the campsite to escape. Great sequence. I really like that scene. It's one of the best scenes in the movie, I think. And then my next note is Kelly is a bad inclusion as a character. We already briefly touched on that, but he's terrible.
Yeah, right after they stampeded and everything, that's when the bad guy, he goes, "We're not alone on this island." Like, he realized, like, because he saw like one of the fences was busted by, like, it wasn't even busted, like it was opened, and he's like, "We're not alone on this island." It was like, dun dun dun
dun dun dun. If this was a TV show, that'd be the end of an episode. That'd be the end of an episode.
Yeah, it would say created by Dick Wolf.
The next note I have is another scene I really enjoy. It's the scene where the trailer gets tipped over the cliff. It's because Ludlow had a injured T-Rex baby, a baby T-Rex that's injured at his camp, and so they bring it back to their trailer to fix its leg. And the T-Rex, the mom and dad T-Rex, find it, and so they start pushing the trailer around after they, well, first they're trying to just get the baby back, and so they do give the baby back to it, and then they come back for revenge and push the trailer off the cliff. And this whole scene is just really incredible. It's probably the best scene in the movie, or second best, but it's one of the best scenes in the movie, in my opinion.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat to that whole scene. You're just like, what's gonna happen next? Dude's running around with all this rope trying to save him. All of a sudden, oh, here's another dinosaur. Oh, dinosaur left. Oh, here's another dinosaur. And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, and like the dinosaur is like, going after the guy with the rope on the car, and he's trying to struggle with the muddy ground because it's raining, while Vince Vaughn and Jeff Goldblum are trying to save Sarah because she's on the glass that's shattering, and then the whole trailer falls, and they're hanging on the rope, and
Oh
like
my God.
it is
Great scene right there. Dude's trying to save him with the rope, and he yells down. He goes, he's like taking his time. He goes, what can I do for you? And he's like, get us some rope. And he goes, anything else I can get you? Yeah, 3 double cheeseburgers with everything. One guy goes, no, I need that on mine. And the girl goes, yeah, and some fries. And it was just so funny.
shortly after the scene, they're getting chased by the T-Rex through the woods. And a bit I really enjoy is the T-Rex steps on a dude, and when the T-Rex lifts its foot, the guy is stuck to the bottom of its foot. And it takes a couple steps with the guy stuck to it.
Yeah, and that's right after all the people stampled. That's right after all the people stepped over the guy because he fell in like a little puddle ravine,
Yeah.
and they used him as a bridge essentially. Than the dinosaur.
I think this movie does overuse the T-Rex though. Like in the first movie, the T-Rex only gets like what, 2 scenes? Like it's the goat scene and then the end when it shows up to take on the raptors.
Movie, I guess, was kind of about the T-Rex because like the
Yeah,
fact that
it's
with the baby and everything. Then,
yeah, it falls
'cause-
into the trap of like, oh, we're doing a sequel. How do we make it bigger than the first? Hey, we had a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Why don't we do 2 T-Rexes? It's like that type
Well,
of thing.
and the bad guy, that was his whole goal. He wanted you don't even have to pay me. All I want is a T-Rex, buck
Yeah.
only. Like he's like, I just want the man. They had a whole little bit later. Was it Ian Malcolm was talking to him? He's like, no, was it Vince Vaughn talking to him? He's like, why do you want to just like kill this thing? Like, yeah, it's the biggest predator on Earth ever. And you just want to kill it or
Yep.
something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot of T-Rex stuff. That's what it's about.
Yeah, it's just I think they overuse it a little bit, but
Yeah.
so the raptor scene in this movie I think is really great. I love when Jeff Goldblum he goes into the building to try and hide from the raptors, but the raptor jumps in the window, and so Jeff he goes to go back outside the door, but then the raptor kicks the door and knocks him through the window, and he just like falls out backwards.
It was
That whole
very
sequence,
comedic.
yeah, it's very slapsticky, but it works in like the real world sense of like
Oh yeah.
I could see it happening in the real world, and it's just so funny. And the way he tumbles up the way he's just like, ah. But then a thing I don't like in this movie, and I think this is one of the main things of why I don't like this movie as a whole. The part where the raptor is like about to get Jeff Goldblum over and Kelly they don't bring this up with any like prior. There's not even a line where they're like, oh, hey, you relate to gymnastics class or anything, but she does gymnastics.
In the very beginning, before she even sneaks on the trailer, when she's all talking about how she lives with her mom, and he's like, how's gymnastics? She goes, I got kicked off the team. Like, thanks for knowing that, Dad.
Oh, okay. I guess I missed that. But yeah, I always thought there was no line previous. But if she dumps gymnastics in the warehouse and kicks the raptor through the window and it lands on something and gets stabbed and dies. Oh my God, is it dumb?
That's why because he goes, you were kicked off, huh? Proving that it's like, no, you're really good at gymnastics. You must have quit. You dropout loser. That's basically what he was referring to.
Yeah. It's just, I think that's a dumb scene. I love that Roland, when he actually captures the T-Rex, he's kind of like bittersweet about it because he's like, well, I did the thing I wanted to do, but his best mate, like his friend in the whole movie, he got killed. And so he's like, yeah, I did the thing I wanted to, but my friend got killed. And so he's kind of like realizes like the thing everyone said I couldn't, like a T-Rex, a thing that doesn't even exist really because it's extinct. And he's like, I'm done. I retire from hunting. And he just like gives his gun to the guy who hired him. And he's like, I'm done with this. It's like, sorry, man. It's like, my friend got killed. I'm done. It's a really cool moment to like, yeah, he wants to hunt all these animals, but then he's like, I'm done. I think the boat scene is kind of weird. So this is skipping ahead a little bit when they put the T-Rex on the boat and ship it to the United States. I think this scene's a little bit weird because when the boat comes in, like it crashes into the dock and all the army guys go onto the boat and then all the crew members are dead. And the one scene in this movie that's really cool is the hands that are on the wheel are just hanging there. I think that's
Yeah.
really cool. But it makes no sense because the T-Rex is the only thing on the boat. But all the people weren't in the T-Rex cargo hold. And the T-Rex cargo hold is shut because they open it. So did the T-Rex get out, kill everyone, and then lock itself back in the hold? Or the more logical explanation, raptors were also supposed to be on the boat, but then the runtime was too long, so they took the raptor scene out. The raptors were supposed to be on the boat and they killed everyone else. And so it's supposed to be raptors and the T-Rex in the city, but they switched it to only T-Rex. So it makes no sense that all the people on the boat got killed.
I'm wondering if it was not supposed to be raptors as well and they cut them, but if, say, there was raptors on, like, because they're on the boat doing their thing, and all of a sudden, like, for all we know, some pterodactyls or raptors or something were on the boat, just like kills everybody and then hops off the boat, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to stand up for it. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I'm just trying to put something to it.
Well, I love when the T-Rex gets off the boat and it starts running into the city. It smashes it through a sign, and the sign it smashes says no. It's a U.S. Customs sign, like for the border, but it says no animals beyond this point, and the T-Rex smashes through it.
Yeah, that was funny.
The T-Rex in the city is a really cool scene. I think this is the best scene in the whole movie. Out of everything in this movie, good or bad, I think this is the best scene. And it terrified me as a child. I had this irrational fear of T-Rexes attacking the city.
Oh, no.
It would keep me up at night sometimes because of this movie. And it makes no sense because T-Rexes, they don't exist. It's an irrational fear I had as a child. But the T-Rex barking at the dog is so great. Like the dog's barking and then it roars. It's a great scene, but what makes it sad though is that the T-Rex eats the dog. And it's like, oh man.
Yeah, but the kid was calm. Was like, "Dad, there's a dinosaur in the backyard." Dad's like, "Yeah, shut up." He's like, "No, Dad, there's a dinosaur in the backyard."
Yeah.
They go and look, and he takes a picture, and the kid that takes a picture, the flash goes off. Bad idea, but anyways.
Yeah, it's just eating the dog. Oh, so sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of my notes for the second movie.
In that rampage scene, there's a part where he's chasing a bus, and it shows that, well, first of all, buses are kind of slow, but the T-Rex is really fast. And the bus driver's like, "Everyone to this side of the bus," blah, blah, blah. And he like runs into the bus. Then it cuts to a Blockbuster video on the inside. I think the bus rams right into the Blockbuster, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when it shows the inside of the Blockbuster, there's a few movie posters that are made up movies. And I thought those were awesome. I took notes. There was Robin Williams in Jack and the Beanstalks.
Okay.
There was Arnold Schwarzenegger in William Shakespeare's King Lear.
Okay.
And he had long, luscious blonde hair in that movie poster.
That's
and
great.
Tom Hanks in Tsunami Sunrise.
That sounds like it could be a real movie. Tsunami Sunrise.
I don't know. Like the poster, almost like but I just thought that was funny. I was like, whoa. At first I thought they were real. I saw Robin Williams in Jack. I thought, oh, Jack.
Yeah.
Then it said, and the Beanstalks. I was like, wait a minute. And then I saw, like, paused it. And yeah, it was pretty funny.
That is cool. Yeah, I ended up not taking a note on those, but I did notice them. But I was like, my thought exactly was Nathan will get a note on these.
Oh yeah, I notice a lot of little things, so I definitely would notice and note those. Yes.
Well, I think that wraps up Jurassic Park 2. So, what's our final rating? What's your final rating on this one? I give
3
it
stars.
Oh, so you think it's right in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
I give this one 2 stars. It is my least favorite of this original trilogy, and there's scenes I like in it, but there's just so much dumb stuff. And Spielberg himself, he even says, like, after making this, he's like, "Yeah, I'll never make a sequel again because I did Jurassic Park 2."
Huh, nice.
Like it's just kind of like he knows it's not as good as the first, and he's like, "Yeah, I just won't do that again." Outside of Indiana Jones, because he's made a lot of sequels for those.
Yes, he has.
And they're working on a 4th sequel right now. All right, so what's next?
Next up is the last installment, Jurassic Park III, 2001.
I just realized all these movies are 4 years apart. So this one was directed by Joe Johnston on a budget of $93 million, which is the most expensive Jurassic Park, which is kind of surprising when we get into this. But it also had the lowest box office gate. It grossed $368.8 million. Has a Rotten Tomato score of 49% and an audience score of 36%, which to me is just sad. This one is also the shortest of the Jurassic Park movies. It's only 92 minutes, so just over an hour and a half. It moves by at a clip.
Yeah, it's definitely a shorter one.
It is quick. Just right off the bat, it takes 11 minutes for this movie until you see a dinosaur. It is real quick. All right, so this one takes place a few years after the second one. And basically, William H. Macy and Teo Leone, they played the Kirby family, and their son Eric has gone missing on Isla Sorna, which is Site B from the second movie that we talked about. And in order to go get their son back, which you can't get to the island because it's, like we mentioned at the end of the second one, it is now a nature preserve for the animals there, or a wildlife preserve or whatever, and you're not allowed to go there. So they go to Alan Grant and basically are like, we'll pay you anything you want to basically just fly over the island with us. And they
William H. Macy's like, I'm kind of a big deal. Everybody knows me. I've got connections. I've got money. You should come with me.
And then his assistant, Billy, who is the heart and soul of this movie. He's my favorite character in this movie. But he convinces Alan to go. And then once they're on the plane, they are actually landing on the island. Alan Grant freaks out. They knock him out. They wake up on the island. And immediately dinosaurs attack. And they are stuck on the island trying to find Kirby's son. And meanwhile, the wife is just screaming the whole time.
Then you find out that the Kirby actually just owns a hardware and plumbing store.
That's hardware.
So he's like, so what?
It's hardware tiles plus.
Yeah,
and he says the plus stands for plumbing.
Yeah. And he goes, so this check here doesn't mean anything? He goes, no. But if you're ever going to redo a bathroom or a kitchen or anything, we can work something out. I thought William H. Macy, well, I mean, he's a funny looking guy in general, but with his eyebrows and his mustache in this one, he looked really funny.
Yeah, I agreed. So Joe Johnston actually wanted to direct the second one, but then Steven Spielberg was like, hey, actually, I'm going to direct the second one. I'll let you have the third one. Steven Spielberg was also going to save the T-Rex in the city part for the third one for Joe Johnston. And then he realized, actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to take that for the second one. So he basically gave Joe Johnston the third one, but it was like, hey, just so you know, I'm taking all my good ideas.
I mean, by all means.
So I do think the third one of this gets a bad rap. Maybe it's just because I loved this as a child so much, but this is one of my favorite movies of this trilogy. Like, I love this movie, so I'm going to say a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fine movie as well. I will say, I'm not saying I'm a Spielberg like nerd, like I'm a cult follower, but watching him direct the first two, then this one being different, like I was paying attention to the fact that it was shot by a different director.
Yeah,
in the directorial way, it's definitely different, you know. So I was kind of like, ooh, the first two were pretty good. Good job, Steven. And then this one, I was like, oh, somebody else wasn't as the same.
Yeah, so everybody knows who Steven Spielberg is. Real quick, I'll just mention Joe Johnston. He's done such movies as like The Rocketeer. He did the first Captain America movie. He directed Jumanji. He directed October Sky. So he's directed a lot of
the first and original Jumanji.
Yeah, yep, the original Jumanji. Should we jump right into notes?
Sure.
Perfect. So the opening scene in this movie is so good. Like, one of the best things about the Jurassic Park trilogy is all three of them have really good opening scenes. I really love the parasailing idea in the start of this one where they're parasailing near the island. It's a really cool idea, but the green screen looks really silly in this movie, which is kind of ridiculous since it has the highest budget. But if you always look at the feet during scenes like this, you can always tell it's green screened just by like the way their feet move. It's just so weird looking, but it's a great scene.
Yeah, and on the parasail shoot, whatever, it says dinosaur, like soaring through the air.
Yeah.
I thought that was clever.
My next note is that Ellie and Alan have an even more vague relationship.
Oh my gosh, curveball. I was like, oh shit. And then crushed my dreams immediately.
Because it's like, so wait, are they friends now? Are they colleagues?
During the first one when he's all, I don't like kids, and then he started to kind of grow on Hammond's grandkids, and then at the end of that one, they're in the helicopter and they're all snuggled up together.
And he even smiles at Ellie. Like,
just Grant and the kids. Yeah, she's giving him eyes like, we're gonna make some of those when we get back. And he's like, yeah, we are. Those are their eyes conversation was. Yeah, then this one, boom, it's him playing with some kids, and then a kid, and then she shows up holding a kid, like smiling at him, and you're like, oh my god, they got together and had babies.
No,
Just
she's just married
kidding.
to some army dickhead.
Just kidding. He's there visiting. And it was so funny though, like the kid, I don't know, he's like 2 or 3 years old, and he's making two dinosaurs fight, like two toys. And
Yeah.
and he's being all serious. He's like, he would have nothing to do with that one. He's an herbivore. And she's like, leave him alone. He's a kid. It's so fun.
I'm surprised he wasn't threatening to kill that kid because he hates kids so much.
Right? Yeah, he pulls out his claw and it'll slice your belly open.
Do you know what a raptor can do to a baby your size?
Well, that kid got distracted by watching Barney later, so
He doesn't care.
no.
So my next note is that I love Billy as a character. Just love him. I absolutely love Billy.
I thought he was boring half the time, and
Are you
then
serious?
I thought he was the bad guy, which you're supposed to think. And but
He's-
then he basically said, I'm a confused man.
he's so good. I don't know why. I love Billy.
That's okay. You're allowed to. I just don't
Yeah.
think he was lovable. Like he was a fine character.
He's my favorite character in this movie. All right, so my next note is that Michael Jeter is so good in this movie. Like, so I've mentioned him on the podcast previously. He plays the sad clown in Air Bud, and then he's
Yes.
also he plays Udesky in this movie. That's his character name, and he is just so great in this movie. Like, just what a gem of an actor.
Yeah, as soon as I saw him on screen, because he's early in the movie when the bad guys are getting together. Well, I guess Kirby's are getting together, the mercenaries. It's funny later in the scene, William H. Macy, he's like, they find out he's the plumber guy, and he goes, oh, so you're a plumber? And he goes, yeah, so are you a mercenary? He goes, I never said I was. Something along the lines of like, can't trust everyone, and they're both like, exactly, because they both lied to each other type of thing. It was funny. Yeah, but I was like, oh my god, it's the clown from Air Bud. Yeah, I got excited.
Yeah,
when I
he's
saw
really good. And so my next note is the raptor dream is really weird.
refresh my memory.
So when he's on the airplane and he takes a nap, he's like, he tells Billy to wake him up when he gets there, and then he dreams that the raptor is sitting next to him on the airplane, and the raptor goes, Alan, Alan, and then he wakes up.
I might have missed that.
Oh, okay, well, it's really weird, and they do set it up early in the movie when he's at Ellie's house. He's talking to the parrot, and he's like, say Alan, say Alan. So he kind of sets it up there, but
Sure.
it's just such a weird sequence. And like, I get why they put it in, but this is the one thing in the movie that you go on Twitter and anyone talking about this movie will pick on this scene where they're just like, oh, this is why Jurassic Park 3 sucks. But it's not as bad as everyone seems, but it's just weird that it's in the movie. This movie never slows down. The Spinosaurus attacks the plane, then immediately they run into the T-Rex, like once they're on the island. Which, once they get their Teo Leone's immediately with a megaphone, just like, Eric, Eric. And they're like, you need to tell your wife to shut the fuck up.
Oh, she never shuts up.
No.
I bet if you drank every time she yells, oh, you'd be trashed halfway through the movie.
Oh my God, you really would. I should do a drunk explain to this movie. There's a really good line though that Alan says where right after she finally stops screaming to the megaphone and they hear a loud roar and they go, what was that, a T-Rex? And Dr. Grant goes, no, sounds bigger. And then the Spinosaurus attacks the airplane as they're taking off. And yeah, this movie literally just never slows down once it starts. It goes so fast and so hard.
When they land, like you said, attacks when they take off. There's a dude on the runway still, one of the mercenary bros. And they're like, oh, we need to stop for him. And they're like, no, we're not stopping. And the plane just hits him and the whole windshield gets covered in blood.
And the plane in the tree sequence is pretty cool actually. And then they land on the ground still in the silo of the airplane, and the Spinosaurus is like rolling them back and forth on the ground like a cat toy.
I did think that was a tad cheesy, the playing with it. But if you realize, in all three of these movies, the dinosaurs love to play with the vehicles, or like every single one, it's always a downward fall, nose first. The Jeep, the trailer, which might have been butt end first, but still it's straight down.
Straight down.
And then now the plane.
Well, my next note jumps kind of ahead, but this is after they deal with the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus. There's also a funny scene where right after they run away from the Spinosaurus, they find a dead dinosaur, and Dr. Grant's like, "Don't worry, it's dead. We're all safe." And then the T-Rex like pops its head up because it's been eating this dead dinosaur, and Dr. Grant's like, "Listen, if we don't move, this dinosaur won't even see us. We're literally totally fine." And they all run away. The dinosaur's like, "Oh, wait, what?" And then Dr. Grant's like, "Oh shit!" And then he has to run away too. And then they run back into the Spinosaurus, and then the Spinosaurus and the T-Rex they has fight, and it's pretty cool, if not a little bit cheesy, because it's just like, oh, we're watching two dinosaurs fight. But hey, it's fucking awesome, and it's two big ass dinosaurs just
Right.
brawling. And I will say the Spinosaurus is not based on a real life dinosaur, but it's still fucking cool.
I mean, it's super cool because the dinosaurs for the years that these came out look cool enough. Like they looked great.
Oh
I
yeah,
will say the cheesiest part about any dinosaur in any three of these movies are the baby dinosaurs. I don't know if you notice, like with their eyes and their slow head turns, like the babies are puppets, like straight up. At least I assume. Not a baby. Like even the compies look good, but it's the same size as the baby, but the babies just look horrible.
all right, so moving on later into the movie, this is after the Spinosaurus scene. They get to a building where it's one of the breeding compounds where they would breed the dinosaurs, and they're going into it, and they come up to a vending machine, and they want to get some food, but it doesn't work. So Billy kicks the glass of the vending machine and grabs a snack, and so then Kirby. William H. Macy goes to the other vending machine and he tries to kick it and fails. And then he takes a running start and tries again and fails. And so he's just like, ah, shit. And he walks
Well,
away.
well, right before Billy even kicks it, William H. Macy goes, "Does anyone have any quarters? I only have $1.25, and it only takes," and then smash. He's like, "Oh," he was just like, "Does anyone have any quarters?" And Billy's like, "Fuck this."
See, Billy's the best. Once they get past the vending machines, they go into a room that has all these like tanks filled with like embryos of baby dinosaurs and shit. And then Tia Leone, she comes up to one that has a raptor head in it, and she's like looking at it, and then the raptor head blinks, and it's a raptor that was standing behind the tank, which it's a very cool visual. And like this is kind of like the T-Rex in the window in the first one, but at the same time, why was the raptor just standing there hiding behind the tank?
It looked fake as hell. Like when I
Yeah,
saw that, I was like, "Oh, it's a painting or some shit."
yeah, it makes no sense. Why would the raptor just be standing behind the tank,
Right,
just standing still? Doesn't make sense in the
right.
context of the
Right
movie, but
before,
it's a cool
right
visual.
before that, right before that is when she said, "Oh, is this where dinosaurs are made?" And Alan goes, "No, this is where you play God," or something
Yeah.
like that.
Hmm.
Oh, I just randomly thought because you said standing there just like in the first one with the T Rex, all of a sudden there. I remember that scene, that style scene from the second one, is when they were in the tent. Yeah, so Sarah had baby T Rex blood all over her shirt. So she was hanging that above them while they slept. All of a sudden there was a dinosaur outside. They heard it, and then flash of lightning, and boom, you saw the shadow right there. Do you remember that scene?
Yes.
That's the same like, oh shit, there's a dinosaur.
Yeah,
Like
that
it
is a
was
scene. That is a thing we didn't mention in the second one, where that's a pretty cool thing where
yeah.
Sarah and Kelly are in the tent, and the T
She
Rex
like
is like,
she puts the crackle candy bar into the bag and puts it under the pillow, trying to hide the smell of chocolate. And there's baby blood smell right there.
yeah. So my next note for Jurassic Park 3 is that Taya Leone sure does scream a lot.
Your next note as well has that. No, just kidding.
Yeah. That's her. If someone was like, hey, what's Tayona Leone's character trait in Jurassic Park 3? The answer would be she screams.
Well, and she complains. Like if she's not screaming, she's complaining. Like her character is
It's,
just horrible.
yeah, that's all she does. So my next note is the Raptors are more bird-like in this movie, which is really cool. Like the Raptors got a redesign. They have feathers on their hair. They're just more bird-like in design. I think it looks really cool and it's more lifelike to what scientists think they look like, at least.
Right. Well, and through every movie, Alan Grant keeps saying that they're like birds. You know,
Yeah,
like look at this, look at that, and also for every little bit, they discover a new trait, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, so my theory was right," or like, "We were completely wrong about this." Like watching them do their thing, so it's kind of neat to see them like learn watching these dinosaurs throughout all
exactly.
the
So
movies.
one thing about the Raptors, I wanted to mention this. Sorry, I completely forgot. But right at the beginning of this movie, Alan Grant is giving a speech about dinosaurs and what he's learned about them since he saw them in person. And he says he's talking about raptors and how smart they are. And he has a cool line where he says, if humans wouldn't have taken over the planet and dinosaurs wouldn't have died out by the whatever killed them, he thinks that raptors would have been the dominant species on Earth. And like they would have formed their own society and stuff.
Yeah, and then he wraps up the little speech and like no one applauds. And then they like slowly applause. Like, any questions? Every single hand goes up and he goes, any questions that does not revolve around Jurassic Park, half go down. Any questions about me not being there? Like every hand goes down but one or something. It's just like, come on, man.
Oh, the second thing he says is any questions that aren't related to the incident in San Diego, which I was not a witness to.
Where he's like, I wasn't even there.
Yeah. Which is a cool nod at the second movie, but
yeah. It's a cool nod about the second movie, but at the same time, like I wasn't in that movie.
yeah. So my next note is Michael Jeter's death is so fucking savage. If you remember it, so basically Raptors attack Michael Jeter, and Teo Leone and Alan Grant are hiding in a tree with William H. Macy, and Udesky's just like laying there on the ground face down, and Teo Leone's character realizes, oh, he's still breathing. And she goes to climb down the tree to go check on him. And Grant goes, no, wait, it's a trap. And as soon as she puts her foot down, raptors jump out to try and jump at her. And so she climbs back up. And then once the raptors are like, oh, she's not coming back, the one raptor before running away looks down at Michael Jeter and bites his head with his neck and then jerks his neck and snaps his neck before running away.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's so pointless because it's like he was going to die. But the raptor, instead of like eating him, just snapped his neck. Like it's like a human trait, you know? It's like
it was literally like you just robbed somebody, and you snap their neck and run. Like
yeah, the raptor.
Sorry to jump around so much, but I just remembered one scene from the first one.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Sorry, the second one. I'm gonna start that over. Sorry to jump around so much, but a scene from the second one is when they were running away from, I believe,
the Spinosaurus.
Yeah,
that's in the third movie, though.
Damn it! Sorry to jump around so much, but from the second one, there's a scene where they're running away from the T-Rex, and they run it through a waterfall, and it doesn't really go much farther back, and they're sitting back as far as they can, and it's trying to get in there, and it gets one guy, and pulls him out. And crunches him, and all of a sudden the waterfall is bloody, like because he's chopping on the guy in the waterfall, and it's just making all the water red. It was pretty cool.
That is a really cool visual, and I got two little things to say about that note really quick. The snake that goes into the guy's shirt, which makes him stand out, which is why the T-Rex bites him. It's a coral snake, which is a very venomous snake. So he had the right to freak out, but also just chill out. It's a snake, man.
Yeah. Wait, did you double check that it was a coral snake? Because you know that it's very commonly mistaken with that other common snake. It's yellow, red, and black stripes. It depends on which stripes next to which. You don't need to go back and do the research. I'm just busting your balls.
I am so glad you made that note because the snake is actually, it looks like the super poisonous coral snake, red to yellow, kill a fellow, is actually the scarlet king snake.
So, which was in the movie?
The scarlet king snake. So it actually wasn't venomous in the movie.
Oh.
So he would have been totally fine. But also, even if it was venomous, he would have been fine. Just don't panic. It's a snake.
Yeah, snake versus T-Rex. I'd get bit by a snake any day.
But to be honest, if that was a spider, like a big spider, I would have gotten eaten by that T-Rex because there's no fucking way I'm standing there with a spider on me. I'd
right, like a fucking tarantula on your face or something.
Oh my god. Jesus. But then immediately after the waterfall turns red from all the blood, Jeff Goldblum just comes through like a minute later. So did he just like walk by the T-Rex and was like, hey, sup, dude?
Well, he probably got his fill. He probably booked it.
No, I want to, they don't show what happens there. I want to imagine that Jeff Goldblum's walking up to the waterfall, the T-Rex turns around, they lock eyes, and Jeff Goldblum goes, sup, and the T-Rex just goes, Arr.
Yeah, T-Rex is probably taking a piss, and they nodded, yeah.
But like a dog, right so he's like standing out one leg.
It was either right before or right after the bloody waterfall. Yeah. He's also reaching in there, and he sticks his tongue out, and he like almost licks him. I thought that's a weird thing the T-Rex did.
Yeah, like, since we're randomly talking about the second movie again, this is a cool thing too that I didn't mention. I like the tree canopy thing in the second where they can hang from the tree out of the reach of the T-Rex and stuff.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought that was just a cool thing.
Well, in the very beginning, he was like, "Yeah, this will keep us out of the reach of everyone." He goes, "That'll put you in reach of bites or whatever."
Yeah. Jumping back to
Back
Jurassic
to the
Park
first one.
3.
Oh, the
Oh, the
third one.
first.
Okay, what?
So the raptor rescue scene is really cool. So Eric throws a smoke grenade and then throws Rex T-Rex piss, and yeah, the raptors all run away, and he gets Alan Grant out of there, and they go to this bunker that's underground that Eric's been living in for 8 weeks, and Alan Grant's like, "So how the fuck did you get raptor or T-Rex piss?" And Eric's like, "You don't want to know."
No, I don't think he used the piss because that would not have been good for them. I think he just did the tear gas. But yeah, he did have the piss, and
No,
that
yeah,
was a
he
funny
did throw
line.
it because
Oh,
it keeps
okay,
the compies away too.
sure.
Yeah. And then my next note is, uh-oh, Billy took an egg, and Alan is not pleased.
And that's right there, and that's when I didn't like him. I was like, "Ooh, this little guy here."
Who, Billy?
Yeah,
He's a rapscallion. So my next note is the aviary scene is terrifying. The baby pteranodons are really freaky. Even though the CGI looks kind of bad on them, they're really freaky.
oh yeah,
Billy uses the parachute to save Eric, who's getting attacked by the babies, and then the fucking adult pteranodons come flying out. And first, they're in the the hallways of the aviary, whatever you want to call them, and they're like going after the Kirby and Grant and all
yeah.
that,
The
and
catwalks, if you will.
catwalks. That is exactly the word I was looking for. Well, and so Eric gets separated and he's being fed to the babies. Well, Billy uses the parachute that they find from earlier in the movie, the parasail from the beginning that we mentioned, and he uses it to fucking save Eric's life. And he drops him off and he's like, "I'm going to save the day." And this is why I love Billy, because of this scene right here. He's the hero of the movie. Like, he makes this daring rescue, he sacrifices his life to go save this kid that he doesn't even know. And the pteranodons just eat him up. And Dr. Grant has a moment where he's like, "God damn it, Billy." Because earlier in the movie, before this scene, he has a line where he goes, "Billy, if something happens to you, I'm going to be stuck alone with these two people. So to make sure that doesn't happen." And so it's cool that there's a scene where, Billy gets taken apart and Dr. Grant's like, "God damn it, now I'm stuck with these two fucking jackasses."
Well, Andy felt like a jerk because the last thing he said to him, he says, the last thing I said to him is, "You're just like them," or just like Hammond, which is
Yeah.
kind of like a rude thing to say. So he was real torn up about it and all sad. But yeah, he's dead. So
Yes.
that was sad.
I do have a
Yeah,
note
he
about that.
sacrificed
And then my next note is Billy No, which is he got attacked.
right
Yeah.
before, like you said, they're in the what did you say?
Aviary.
They're just going across this catwalk, and there's this one that's unstable, so they had to go one at a time, and it's super super foggy. So Grant goes over, and then the mom's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go first, and then you come right after me, okay, Billy or Eric?" He goes, "Mom, I lived in a water truck for 8 weeks. I'm pretty sure I can go live with 2 minutes without you." And Willie makes me see his smile, like,
Yeah, and so that's where the pteranodon first
yeah.
shows up. And
So
it's
she
like,
gets,
if they
yeah, she
both
gets
walked
across.
across, how did it get in the middle?
Well, think about it. It's so fucking foggy. It's so dense. Like it seemed like
It
the
just
walk.
walked past them.
Well, no, the walk was because there was no ceiling right there. I don't think on
Okay.
the catwalk. So and the walk seemed like it was, I don't know, a good 30, 40 yards, and visibility was only like 8 to 10 yards. So like
Yeah.
instantly can't see the person. And there was plenty of room for in the middle for things to go. Yeah, all of a sudden there's one of those,
Pteranodons, I think is what they're called. Pteranodons.
yeah, pteranodons or whatever.
Pteranodons.
Yeah, but I just like that. Mom, I lived in a water truck for 8 weeks. All of a sudden, Grant looks up and he goes, "Oh my gosh, we're in a giant bird cage." And that's when he realized, oh, we're in trouble. And then like everything that you just said happened, and Billy dies. You said, "Oh no, Billy," and what's the next note?
My next one is that the riverboat scene is really fun. I love the poop. So this is the thing we didn't mention about this, but so Kirby has a satellite phone, and at the beginning of the movie, he gives it to Nash, who's the pilot, and then Nash gets eaten by the Spinosaurus, so they lose the
Yep.
phone. They keep hearing the phone throughout the movie, and anytime they hear it, the Spinosaurus shows up. Well, they're on the riverboat, and they start hearing the phone, and they get all excited because they're like, "Hey, we can call for help," and then they're like, "Wait, the dinosaur had the phone. But then they realize, oh, it's a pile of poop. So the dinosaur pooped and the phone's in the poop. So they're digging through the poop to get the phone, and they finally do. And so Alan calls Ellie, and Ellie's son from earlier in the movie, he picks up, and it's just a hassle talking to him. But then the Spinosaurus shows up and it starts attacking the riverboat that they're in, and they get trapped in a cage, like a shark cage, and they're under the water, and he's just trying to get help. And then Ellie finally picks up the phone, and she's like, "Oh my God, Alan's on the dinosaur island again. This is crazy."
Yeah, so when
Great
they
scene.
first see the piles of shit, they're three giant piles of steamy shit. It must have been fresh or something.
Yes,
But
and then Jeff Goldblum
they get
goes,
over
"Wow,
there.
that's a big pile of shit."
He wasn't there. Shut up. And so they go over and they all start digging their hands in. He's like, "We got to get this before it stops ringing." And they're all digging in their own piles of shit. And he pulls out like a watch. The chick pulls out like a full on like a lumbar or some shit. And then he pulls it out and he goes, "Oh, here it is." And answers it, and it's a telemarketer. Like it's just like a
Yeah.
recording. And they're like, "Damn it!" But then here comes the dinosaur. Like, oh shit! Everyone stay still. It's gonna get us. And the dinosaur does this little like smell, it like almost shakes his head, like, "Ugh, you guys are covered in shit,"
Yeah.
and then just takes off. It was the funniest. Like, ugh. I could have sworn that they had a realization, like, should we just cover ourselves with shit? This will deter dinosaurs. They didn't, but they should have.
That's a thing like in The Walking Dead where they'll cover themselves in like dead people guts, and then the zombies think that they're also dead.
Right. Yeah, I seriously think if they covered themselves in shit, which would have been awesomely terrible,
Yeah.
I might have changed the outcome shortly down the river.
Yeah, so then after that sequence, they deal with the Spinosaurus by lighting the boat on fire. But so after that, they're going towards the coast, and they get surrounded by raptors. And Alan realizes, oh, hey, Billy stole the egg. And so they have this plan to give the egg back to the raptors. Earlier in the movie, Billy used a 3D printer to make a fake raptor larynx where he can make the sounds of the raptor. Like he makes the sounds that the raptors can. And so he basically gives the raptor egg to Taya Leone, who the raptors think stole it, and she gives it back to the raptors. And then he uses it to confuse the raptors, like by making their sounds. And so they pick up the egg, and then they all just dart off. And
Yeah, first he makes just like a roar sound with it because he's never practiced. They like look confused at first, and then I forget who yells it, maybe Eric or something. It was like, "Call for help," which the raptors do throughout the movie, where they do this high pitched, quick chirp, which means more raptors come. So he started doing that. He's like, "Oh, okay." He started trying this other sound, and that's when they really panicked. They were like, "Oh shit,
yeah.
more raptors
And
are coming."
so they finally dip out. I think that's really cool. Like that gives more credence to the fact that like he was like, yeah, they could have started their own society because they can talk and stuff and have communication and they plan traps and whatnot. So it's crazy. But then they make their way to the coast where the army just shows up and he's like, wow, your friend Ellie, she called the Marines and then she called the Navy and the Marines. And so they show up and then they get on the airplane or the helicopter to get the hell off the island and oh hey, Billy is alive.
Such like a, oh dang, but at the same time, he was like almost doped up. Like he was like sitting there like all crippled, all injured. And, like he's like, I saved you your hat,"
Yeah.
and he gives him the iconic hat. Like not much said, and he's just sitting there kind of like, ow.
Originally, Billy was supposed to die in this movie. But then Joe Johnston was like, well, I don't want a sad ending, so let's bring Billy back. So he just put him on the helicopter.
Which is crazy because him dying was early enough in the movie wouldn't have been a sad ending. Like I was already
Yeah.
over that.
And
Like
so this is
no
what
one
doesn't
would have been like, oh.
this is what doesn't make sense about it. So he got picked off in the middle of the island where the aviary was because they didn't want the pteranodons by the coast because they would, fly off island or whatever. So it's in the middle of the island. And he gets taken out by them. But then the Marines somehow find him before the other people.
Well, he died in a flowing body of water. It was a river.
I guess, but they took him out.
Yeah.
And anyway,
I think it made sense.
the Marines find him first, but then at the same time, when Alan Grant gets to the coast, you see the Marines driving up to the coast like they just got there. It's like, where the hell did Billy come from?
Well, obviously the other side.
I guess, but yeah, that's all my notes for Jurassic Park 3. So, what's your final rating on this one?
I give it a 3.
Okay,
Yeah, tied with the second one. For me, it's 5 in the first, and then like pretty good.
I'll give this one 4 stars I really like this one. I think it maybe came across from me talking about it so much, but I
Yeah, it's
adore
possible.
this movie so much.
Yeah. Oh, and then at the end, when they're flying away in the helicopters, here comes some pteranodons flying loose,
Yeah,
run
which
amok.
sets up another sequel that never happens. I mean, it did eventually happen, but so I think that wraps up Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that was a good episode.
I agree. This was really fun.
I haven't seen the originals in so long. Like I've watched the new Chris Pratt Jurassic Worlds semi periodically when they came out, but always reminded me of these. And I was like, oh yeah, I've seen those in forever. So it's good to see these.
You haven't seen these in at least 5 years, I would say, maybe longer.
I think longer for me. I don't know if I've ever seen the third one. Yeah, I probably haven't seen some Jurassic Park in like 20 years.
Wow.
Okay, maybe 15, but still.
Jurassic Park's fun. I like dinosaurs.
You don't have one for me?
For
It's like a creaky chair old lady dinosaur. Well, are you ready?
what?
Wheel of.
Versus.
This is one of our favorite part of the podcast. Everyone's favorite, your favorite, his favorite, her favorite, their favorite, their favorite, and their favorite.
He's a dude. She's a dude. We're all dudes here.
Forget what that's from.
It's a good burger.
There it is. Anyways, we choose some characters, which in this case, we're going to do dinosaurs only from the movie that we were just talking about, and spin a wheel and make them fight to the death, elimination style, one at a time. See who's the best.
Yes.
Are you ready to imagine some dinosaurs fighting?
As someone who has seen some of the Godzilla movies where they fight, I'm ready for this.
All right, so we're going to invite y'all, unless you're driving, to close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and when you hear, scratch yourself. Pretend you're up in this battle. You just got clipped. You just got your belly slashed. Your intestines are gonna fall out now. Who is on your list of dinos?
I got the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Procompsognathus, the Spinosaurus, the Stegosaurus, and the Pachycephalosaurus.
I've got the Velociraptors, the Dilophosauruses, the Pterodons,
The
the
Galley,
Galluses.
it's the Gallimimus.
I'm gonna restart this. I've got the Velociraptors, the Dilophosaurus. Can you tell me who I have on my team?
Yeah, sure. You have the Velociraptors, the Dilophosaurus, the Pteranodons, the Gallimimus, and the Triceratops.
I don't do so good at dinosaur names, I'll tell you.
They're very hard to say. I only
Yeah.
know them so well because I've listened to the audiobook of Jurassic Park. All right, well, I am spinning for my first dinosaur. So I got the Spinosaurus,
I got the Dilophosaurus,
the Dilf dinosaur.
the Dilophosaurus.
So who'd you get?
I got the.
Oh, yeah, you said that.
Don't make me say it again.
So which one is the Dilf dinosaur again?
So it's got like the hard shell taco on his head. Also, its neck pops out with this like sweet looking mane, and it makes some crazy noise, at least according to the movie. And it spits venom,
Yes.
like acid venom, like it burns.
All right, so your dinosaur does have the spitting, but the spitting only blinds you. It doesn't it's non-corrosive acid. I don't think you could get a spit in on the Spinosaurus though. Spinosaurus is big, but I don't think you could get a spit in on the Spinosaurus because it's so tall. You know what I mean? Like it's a bigger than the T-Rex. Because there's only
Well-
one of yours and one of all mine. This is a singular dinosaur, I believe.
Well, I'm going to say to all those dinosaur fans that are yelling at their cars right now that this dinosaur didn't spit poison. But we're going off the movie dinosaurs, especially since the Spinosaurus is not even real.
Yes.
So in the movies, it did spit venom. Yeah, just so you know, they little venom sacs, which were actually displaced teeth. And a little fun fact about it for you. But I think just off size alone, just like how you pull out your big old dragon in the Shrek episode, do you think size alone you could crush the crap out of me?
Yeah, I think the Spinosaurus can take this one. Like I think a different dinosaur, yours would have won, but I think just the size difference takes this one.
Spinning.
I'm also spinning.
Who are you? Who? I got Triceratops.
Very interesting because I got the Stegosaurus.
Ooh, this is a good battle.
This is because you were a little apprehensive about choosing a herbivore, and I told you, well, I'm choosing a herbivore next. And you chose the Triceratops, and I chose the Stegosaurus.
Yeah, so I picture it kind of like a turf war. Like
Yeah,
there's some good patch of grass right there, and
I want to eat that grass.
I'm like, hey, you get out of here.
I want to eat that grass,
You take all your little friends and get out of here.
but I want to eat that grass.
No, this grass is my grass.
I'm gonna eat that grass.
All
So,
right,
okay, what is the
all you
Triceratops
listeners,
is like
go
a
ahead.
rhino, but it has three horns.
For the most part, I wouldn't call it a rhino, but yeah, you're picking up. Yeah,
Yes. And so the Stegosaurus has not only the metal plates on its back, which protect it from like T-Rexes biting its back, but it also has the tail with the spikes on it like a mace.
I could be wrong, but I do believe Triceratops are a little more agile and faster.
This is true.
Not much faster, but more charging fast.
And they're
Um,
smaller.
and I don't think you have the same type of plates around your neck and chest area, which is what I'm gunning for.
Yes.
So I'm coming up at you. So yeah, your tail, yeah, you can whip around, but here I come charging, ready to freaking turn you into a kebab.
Yes.
Just slice
So
you.
I think the Stegos can't turn as fast. But here is, I think, the one defense is so like if the Triceratops, I think their move would be a charge, like a rhino, because they got the horns, right? So they charge. I think if you were charging and the Stego timed it right, you could wham with the tail, knock your ass out.
I wouldn't go full speed. I'd probably go at an angle too, especially because expecting for you to move like that. And because I don't want to be charging so fast that you go to turn, you can get me, or you literally move and I like run past you.
And
I want to get close enough. If my spearing, sporking, stabbing won't work, I want to be able to just like smack my head around, maybe poke your eye, like kind of like whale you a little, like whaling a whale, just like whack.
you also have the shield on your head. If my Stego hit your head, I think you'd be okay.
Also,
I think this is a side battle because you'd have to stab the Stego in the side of the stomach, like with your horns, and I'd also have to get you in the side of your stomach with the tail.
no, I can stab your throat. Also,
Maybe,
I
yeah,
it could be wrong. I've never seen a dinosaur in real life. I'm pretty sure mine can do the old up on its back feet kick, front feet. Like you're pretty like low to the ground. You can't go on your back feet. I mean, I'm talking for a quick second, like a stomp your head into the ground type of like
maybe I don't
something
know.
like a horse would do. Yeah.
Well, I honestly think this is a very even battle. Do you want to flip a coin for this one?
I mean, as long as I'm right, I know my one horn went in your throat, my other horn went in your eye, and the other horn is itching your ear for you. You're welcome. Yeah.
I think this one's pretty even.
Okay, fine. Heads.
All right. It's tails.
I win.
You just said heads, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Oh yes. Wait, I'm 2 up.
I mean, I think the listeners would side with me, but okay, fine. We'll give you this one again, I guess.
All right. Well, I'm spinning again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who'd you get?
I got the Gallimimus.
I got the Pachylocephalosaurus. Yours, I'm Googling. Okay. So yeah, yours is the one that just runs in the stampede in the first movie. It kind of looks like a bird, a giant ostrich. I got the Pachylocephalosaurus. It's the one from the second movie that has the battering ram on its head that like hits that guy into the car door.
But mine runs in numbers. It's a pack.
Yeah, and yours is a quick runner. Does yours attack? Because yours just looks like a
Everything attacks into the death.
yours yours looks like the flimsiest little dinosaur I've ever seen. Like I know these things were probably like 6 foot tall, but just it looks like the flimsiest little, and its mouth just looks really small in the pictures. But yeah, I don't know. So the Pachylocephalosaurus that I have has the battering ram, and it can run and charge. It's kind of like the Triceratops, I guess, in that way, where it can take you out with a headbutt. Is yours a herbivore or a?
It's one of the ones where it's an unknown diet, possibly made to plants, insects, even plankton.
Weird. Gallimimus was the fastest sprinter of any dinosaur and could have outrun a racehorse.
Well, so I'll just run circles around you until you're dizzy.
straight up in a one-on-one, I think mine could take yours because
Oh,
it would just knock you out. But
definitely.
I don't think yours has like biting capabilities or anything. So, but yeah, if you got like 20 of them,
Well,
sure.
especially they're roughly 500 pounds each. Like I understand your dinosaur is probably pretty big, but yeah, if 500 pound dinosaurs are charging and jumping at you, you might get a concussion. They come running up from behind
I,
and they're
d- I
smacking your head in
definitely
all which different ways.
I definitely don't think you have to worry about my dinosaur getting a concussion.
No, I'm talking more of like I guess whiplash. Like they're
Okay.
smacking you, 500 pound dinosaur hitting the back of your head, like your neck's like ah.
I think this is the one dinosaur you don't have to worry about. He's like the meathead who's on the football team who's like hitting his head into a locker before every game.
Right.
And like, what's wrong with that, dude?
Yeah, so I think numbers alone, I would take it.
Yeah, just go for it. Take it. I believe in my other dinosaurs.
You'll bend over to that one, but not the Triceratops. Okay.
No, you got me on this one. I think.
I had you in the last one, but okay.
I disagree on that. I think the Stego and the Triceratops would be a battle to a draw.
Spinning.
I also am spinning. I got the compies, Procomps and Nathis.
I have the Velociraptors.
Oh, okay.
So now this one is a
Pack versus pack fight.
yeah.
You could have like 6 raptors, right, in a pack, I think. And the compies could have like 10. But the compies are like 2 feet tall. I'm just giving you this. The
I was
raptors
gonna say
win.
the Velociraptors would like I right now I'm picturing the tail of your
Like,
compy
yeah.
like a spaghetti noodle. Like he just finished his meal. He's like
The
Thanks for
only
that.
chance for this, but since this is a fight to the death, this doesn't work. But the only chance is the compies would maybe run away faster.
no
But
dipping.
it
This
doesn't.
is
Yeah,
to the
that doesn't
death.
work. So
Yeah.
I think the Raptors win. So we are tied 2-2. Who is your last dinosaur?
Are the pteranodons plural?
Okay, my last is the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I'm gonna say right off the bat, I think the Tyrannosaurus Rex is all hype in these movies. Like, yeah, it eats people real good, but they didn't do much.
T-Rex.
And then they showed up, messed around with the Jeep, ate a person, and left. Showed up, messed around with the thing, ate a person, and left.
Whoa. All right. So in the first one, the T-Rex, not only does it cause mayhem with the Jeeps at that part, it also saves the day at the end of the movie by eating the raptors. It even catches the one raptor out of the air and bites it.
I forgot about that part.
Okay.
Good thing
And
I
then the
didn't get the
second one.
Raptors.
Then in the second one, the T-Rex not only pushes it doesn't like it pushes the trailer off the thing, but it also is like attacking the whole campsite and chases them. And I don't know. And then the T-Rex fights the Spinosaurus in the end. I think the T-Rex could do this. I think it could catch your guys out of the air.
Well, here's the thing. Since I have plural and I've got those.
But how many are there in this one? There's maybe like 3 or 4. There's not that many.
There was at least 4, if not a couple more.
Yeah,
I think.
I think there was maybe around 4.
But they're huge.
They are
And
pretty big.
They've
But
got some crazy claws, enough to like pick people and things up. So here's what I'm saying. Yeah, you've got your nose. I mean your big old head to try to chomp out of the air. But I think if enough of these dudes come at you trying to use their claws to peck out your eyes first of all, or grab your eyes or something, you got little arms. You can't do much with your arms to help.
you got a big head and these little arms.
Yeah, but I think if it's tactical to go for your eyes first, because that would be. I mean, your eyes don't do much anyways. Because if you stand still, you can't see me apparently. But my goal is to like hack you strategically, take out your head first. I mean, honestly, if my other tactic was to go for your tail and your back, which you can't turn your head around or reach me because your little arms, and my goal, because these are some strong dudes, to grip you and lift you up and drop you from a high distance, you're gonna snap your neck when you hit the ground.
I don't think they could. I don't think it'd get that far because I'm just thinking about like what the T-Rex goes through in the movies, and like he gets attacked by a handful of raptors, and like the one raptor like slices its back.
Yeah, but a
in the
raptor
first
is like
movie.
a dog compared to a dragon. Like these things.
Yeah,
are
but they don't have the
huge.
claws that the raptors do. Like, you know, the raptors have that one claw that they just go. But he also gets like a chomp taken out of it with the Spinosaurus, and it still fights and then saves the day at the end or whatever. But I don't know. I think the T-Rex could take this because it could. I'm thinking like one, it's not gonna not see you because you're flying around, so it's constantly gonna be like, oh, I see it because it's not standing still. I
Yeah,
don't think
one
that's a real life thing, but that is just the dumbest rule
when
for
you're looking at
dinosaurs.
one, but then the rest are coming from other directions that you can't see.
But yeah, I think he could catch one. I could think he could catch him out of the air. I think he could bite him. I think he could turn its head, and I think the T Rex could do this. Yeah, I don't know with this one. I think the T Rex could do it. Do you think the Pteranodons can?
As I've been telling you, yes, but you're gonna steal the win like you did against the Triceratops. So I guess you're just gonna win this one. And we're gonna have angry listeners along with me. Angry.
All right, well, should we flip a coin? Because I mean,
No, I hate flipping a coin when I already win, and then the coin makes me lose. That's stupid.
okay. I mean, I don't really care. I think the T Rex could win, but
Well, I mean, I'm up 6-4 across the board anyway, so fine. 6-5. You win this one. We're gonna never mention this again. I'm gonna mention it every episode, but occasionally I'm gonna bring it up and be all better.
what would you have said? Heads or tails?
Tails.
Okay, you would have won.
Yeah, I know.
Tails never fails except for the one time you said heads. All right, well, that was Wheel of Versus.
Yeah,
Maybe your best one yet.
because you won wrongfully. Okay. Well, that was a good episode.
I agree. I think that was a really good one.
3 great movies.
And a TV show we talked about that we both enjoyed.
Yeah, that was fun. Shout out to the creators of the pits. Bring it back.
Well, I'm going to give out our email again. It's ourdads.ourbrothers@gmail.com. Hit us up with any episode ideas, questions, concerns, anything you want us to talk about. If it's good enough, we will read you out on the pod. And tell Nathan that he deserved to lose this episode.
No. Well, if you want to check out my personal life, you can check me out on Instagram. I've got Nathan Tracy, one brick wall at a time. Which I just released some new brick photos. And Halomoto, HALLOMOTO.
And I am BatTracy01 on everything except TikTok. I'm Bat Loves Movies. And you can check out my YouTube at Punk Rock Blues. And you can check out my other podcast, Brothers in Tights.
What's the next episode about?
We are doing the Superman in live action films from Christopher Reeve to Superman Returns.
Very cool.
Everything between.
Everything between and or before.
Yes.
But not after.
No way, Jose.
No way. Well, until next time, I'm Nathan Tracy.
And I'm Bat Tracy. And our dads are brothers.
That they are. That was fun.
This was fun.
We should do it again.
Yeah, like maybe a podcast?
I think so.
We could do it like weekly.
How about once every 7 days?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That's way better than my idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we just need a clever name.
Yeah, how about Iman? That's name backwards.
Or the Jurassic podcast.
Perfect.
All right, bye.
Bye.